So hello, friends and listeners to BHF Radio. We will now have 20 minutes on Spotlight on Sanathana, where I interview somebody involved in promoting Hinduism, in living Hinduism, and in delighting in Hinduism. So here I have Vidhya Sasitharan, who will be our guest today and talking to us about what she's been doing and how her involvement with Sanatana Dharma is going. So welcome, Vidhya. How are you today?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm delighted to have you here, and all your sort of amazing role that you have as a youth worker with the Om Sharavanabhava Trust and working with Sri Sadguru Sharavanabhava, which sounds amazing. So do tell us more about all the things that you do. So how about starting off with a bit of background on Swamiji, and he's established a temple this year. So tell us about that.
Of course, I'd love to. So Sadguru Sri Sharavanabhava is fondly addressed as Babaji or Swami, and he's a living self-realized master. And in the tradition of the eternal religion, a Sadguru is none other than the Supreme Self who has taken human birth on earth to guide humankind, and such is our own Sadguru, who guides us by example, illuminating to us the path of truth and the path of righteousness. So Babaji was born in Sri Krishnapuram, a very small village in Palakkad, Kerala, and comes from very humble origins. So from a very young age, he began to display signs of divinity and embarked on his mission of spreading love, peace, and harmony across the globe, establishing universal harmony through selfless service. And his mission is founded upon 4 key pillars, which is feeding the poor and the needy, providing clothes to the destitute, providing medical assistance to those in need, and distributing educational aids to those underprivileged children in developing countries. And to support Babaji's mission, a number of ashrams, also known as spiritual centers, have been established across the globe in countries such as India, France, Canada. And one such center is the newly inaugurated Sharavanabhava Community Center, which is in Barnet, London. And it's the sacred location of Navagraha Sri Kathirgaama Yogi Yogishwara Yoga Dhandayuthapaani Swami Temple. And the community center is known as Maheshwara Kshetram Mahashanti Nilayam, which exemplifies that it's an abode of the divine and it's a sanctuary of peace and solace. And the aim of the center is to bring together people from all walks of life and to render humanitarian services. And it's a beautiful multi-faith center that's filled with positive vibrations, being home to sacrosanct and powerful deities that have been surrounded by nature, making it a very unique temple in the midst of London. So that's a little bit of background about Swami and the new temple.
Sounds absolutely beautiful, and I've been there just on the opening and I absolutely loved it. So I'm so delighted to have this centre in London and so accessible to everyone. So thank you for explaining that. And so you are a youth worker for the centre and for Swamiji's work. So tell us what that involves and what is it that you do as a youth worker?
I'd be happy to. So the Youth Wing has been an integral branch of Babaji's UK mission since its very inception. And the aim of it is to encourage young people to look beyond the accumulation of just academic and worldly knowledge, and to also pursue jnana, wisdom, through holistic learning, whilst also performing selfless service. So the youth were actively involved in organising and carrying out numerous activities supporting Babaji's global charitable activities, but also we're more focused on a local level within our very own communities. So local projects we've recently conducted include a toy and book drive for terminally ill children in hospices, in addition to hosting events such as tea parties and creating care packages for older members of society who live in care homes to provide them with a source of upliftment. Also annually, in honour of our Sadhguru's birthday, which falls in the month of October, we conduct a number of charitable activities under a specific theme. And this year, our theme was to support the homeless. So we believe that homeless are often a group of individuals who can be marginalized from society sometimes. And so to fundraise and to support both local and national homeless shelters, we conducted a sponsored walk, hosted a food drive, and we're currently in the process of creating care packages consisting of essential items to distribute during this winter season.
Oh, that sounds pretty powerful work you're all doing. It's excellent work. So
thank you.
Yes, I am really impressed. So well done, all of you, and keep it up, because now we've got winter coming and the homeless definitely need all the help we can give, especially at this very difficult time. So yes, very lovely, very good to hear that. So tell me about how you came to Swamiji and how you became involved in the youth movement.
Sure. So I first met Babaji in 2010, and it was a very chance meeting. It wasn't pre-planned or anything of that sort. And in fact, in this past week, it's actually just been 10 years since my very first meeting with Babaji. So which has been a very nice anniversary in that sense. And I remember that very evening vividly when I first went to see him, that I was very uncertain about who I was going to meet, because I had never heard about Babaji previously, and I had never even planned to meet him at all. So I think my experiences echo how the calling of a Mahatma is the calling of a Mahatma. We cannot be in a Mahatma's presence unless we are called. And that is actually the Sadguru who pulls the seeker into their presence. And it's not us who actively go and seek the Sadguru. And so from the very first encounter, I remember I was captivated by Babaji's compassion and his warmth and his radiating smile. And I was able to acknowledge Babaji's divine aura, but I think it's taken me many years to even begin to realize the purpose and the profoundness of Babaji's incarnation. And it was actually through Babaji's satsangs and spiritual discourses that I became interested in becoming a youth member. As Babaji often speaks about the importance of serving those in need, and with Babaji once saying, I remember, the light in us lies in erasing the pain of others, and that it's our very own duty as citizens of this earth to protect it, to nurture it, and to preserve the welfare of all its beings. So being inspired by these teachings, I wanted to be involved in the organization's mission and movement to work towards universal peace and harmony.
Wow, sounds fantastic. And it's very powerful what you've just said, because it certainly is the Guru seeks out his devotees, or, the flock. And you must have been so young anyway.
Yes, I was very, very young.
You just started university, so 10 years, you've met him 10 years ago, and you've obviously, when a child has such an impact, such a meeting with a Sadguru, the impact is most powerful anyway, and it's so beautiful because your whole life then can change for the better, isn't it? So yeah. That's a beautiful collection of experiences you've just put forward. So, it's a beautiful message that just by connecting with Swamiji, how much you have experienced. And so what then I have to say is, how do we convince others about, in Sanatana Dharma, where we say a guru is our beacon and the light who will guide us to our final destination? How do we say to other colleagues or friends, say outside the temple, how do you explain a guru to them? Or how do you even talk to them about your work as a youth worker?
That's a very good question. I remember when I was in my early teens, when I first met Babaji, that I would often be very hesitant to speak to, whether it be my friends or peers or even other family members, about going to see Babaji and volunteering and all sorts. But then I think over time, as I kind of found my feet and understood what I was doing and my role at the organization, I would share more details about what I was doing. So if someone would ask, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I happen to be volunteering at the temple. I would say, I'm going to volunteer at the temple, and I would share more details. And I found that the more details I shared, the more interested the other person would be, and they would start to ask questions. And it's through these questions that you initiate these discussions and these conversations. And I found that as I shared more about how I felt and how uplifting this experience was, going to the community center, volunteering, seeing Babaji was, people were able to understand that and be able to relate it to other experiences they've had too.
Yes, so it actually is saying that it is even more important to share than to be quiet, because by sharing you are filling somebody else's life and giving them ideas to think about for themselves, isn't it? And maybe even giving them sort of a hope and a plan as to how they can make their life even more fulfilling. So,
exactly, that's very true.
Yeah, so it's sort of like up to all of us actually, because I think generally a lot of Hindus are too quiet, isn't it, about what they do when it comes to their religious path. We're not generally in your face, like, oh, we are doing this. We keep everything just within our own selves, I think, a lot of us at school or at work. But I think we have so much to offer, so we certainly should be more open and tell people of all the beautiful things we do as practices of Sanatana Dharma, that we are here. What are we here for? Just to make everyone's life more much more fulfilled and better, but at the same time growing within ourselves and removing the bits that are no longer useful for us, but growing with all the good values. So I think well done. That's amazing work you are doing.
Thank you. And I think having these discussions and these conversations, it's mutually beneficial because you're imparting and sharing what you've learned. But at the same time, as you're asked questions, you almost realize more about your own journey too and what your experience is. And you think about it and delve about it more. And that's how you learn more things, I found too.
Yes, I think this is what we have lost in the modern world, the ability to share experience with other Hindus, with other practitioners, because in Sanatana Dharma, we have so many sampradayas, you're following Vaishnava, like Vishnu sects, or you're following Krishna or Mata Devi sects, or maybe just a guru sect, something different, or everybody's following something slightly different, but ultimately the end is the same. And just from the starting point to the end point, the different routes you use, the different experiences you have, are all different for everybody, but so useful to learn about from each other. It's a journey. Everybody's on a slightly different route, but each is revealing experiences we need to understand from each other. And this is the sharing, the beauty of the sharing. I think it helps everyone. So yes, we do need to become more vocal. It's almost like we need a youth academy of sharing for Hindus, because across all the different sampradayas we can have all the youth talking about how they found their journey, or how they've overcome something. That would be something beautiful for the future, isn't it? What do you think?
Definitely, as we all have such different journeys all towards the same end goal, that different paths, different journeys.
Yeah, sorry talking there, but it's all about how did you grow in that journey and how it helped you so it can help others.
So true.
Okay, brilliant. So the other question then I have is in terms of if there's one message you'd like to give out to the Hindu youth, say in UK, or even globally, because who knows I know there are people globally who listen to this as well. This radio station is they're starting to join up. So what would your message be to other youths across, all the different paths of Hinduism?
So I think I'd want to say that, firstly, Hinduism is such a beautiful and profound religion, and it's anchored in hallowed traditions originating from many thousands of years ago. And in this day and age, it can be difficult for youth such as myself to want to read and learn about our roots and our religions, as we can very easily get caught up in the worldly pursuits, whether it be work, whether it be university, whether it be school. There's always something. And at times, these teachings can be a little hard to understand, and they can seem sometimes inaccessible to us, especially for the younger generation. And I think that's where a Satguru comes in, because a Satguru helps us to overcome these barriers and these challenges. So, for example, Babaji, he conveys messages from religious scriptures such as the Vedas and other religious scriptures from all other faiths in a very easy and accessible manner, using very simple analogies, allowing young individuals to understand these difficult and often profound spiritual concepts with ease, whilst also instigating our curiosity to find out more about these rituals or these deities or these traditions. And I'd like to relay a message Babaji conveyed to the youth a few years ago. And it's about, at the end of the day, it's about practicing 6 divine qualities in our lives and how these will be empowering for us. So the first quality was to be strong, so to have positive and powerful thoughts. And then secondly, to be strict, so to display integrity and to have discipline in everything that we do. Thirdly, to be straight, so to always be honest. And fourthly, to be soft, so to be kind-hearted towards others. And fifthly, to be sweet, so to ensure our thoughts, our words and our deeds are compassionate. And finally, to be beautiful, to execute whatever we pursue beautifully. And Babaji often uses a analogy comparing youth to doctors of the world, but instead of using stethoscopes and syringes as our tools, our own tools are love and understanding. And he believes that the youth are the torchbearers for the future. So I think that's something that I'd like to share with all the listeners.
Because it's beautiful and it's sharp and it hits everyone, powerfully, because these are such simple characteristics that we can all develop. And it's just knowing that we need to get to these qualities, isn't it? Inculcating these qualities within us is the key thing. And Babaji, I guess, is providing the understanding of how we can become more strong, how we can become more integrated and straight and soft and sweet and beautiful. So we know, so Babaji has set out these 6 key points, and he is the driver that's driving us to get to that point, isn't it? Through his other small teachings and all his little divine discourses. So I think it's a beautiful message, and it's simple, and it's all about getting to this point. And how can everyone do it? It's by connecting with Sadgurus who can give you the teachings necessary to get there. So I think that's a beautiful message for all the youth here and everywhere else, because if they're not particularly difficult, are they, to be strong, integrated? But in this living in this material world, we are not always strong, because we think, oh, I'm not going to go and get that, or I'm going to be strong and avoid becoming like that. But the Maya of the material world shakes us a bit, and sometimes we give up and we go there that way, don't we? So all these little things we have to develop, and the more, I guess you would say, more people seek out the divine teachings, the divine Vedas and Shastras that we have to offer. Through that and through the gurus, you get all the guidance needed to get there. Would you say that's right? Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think it's a continuous process and an ongoing process, that we're ever learning, ever changing and ever growing. And that with every step, every decision, we might make a decision that's wrong, but then we can learn from it and know, okay, how can we go back to these core 6 principles and how can we move forward? So I think it's a cycle almost, going back and forth. But I think at the end, we'll be able to break out from the bondage and from the cycle and be able to achieve and attain and imbibe these qualities.
Brilliant, beautiful. That is so true, and that is true for all of us. I mean, whether true for every individual, we are continuously learning. learning never ends for us, because we have to grow all the time, and many of us are so filled with different kinds of patterning and behavioral thinking. We don't realize that what we may have grown up with is not quite the right quality that we need to focus on, and to shift all these patterns and thinking, and move on to the guidance given by Sadhgurus like Baba.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think continuous learning is certainly a very powerful message for everyone today. So it's almost like we should ask everyone, hey, so what are your plans for commencing your continuous learning? Which point do you want to start at? Think about that, and put together a little sort of plan for yourself, isn't it?
Exactly.
Always good to do a self-analysis.
Yes, it's those questions that we ask ourselves that always end up being the most empowering, I find.
Yes, that's brilliant. Thank you. The other query then I have is a lot of people who often criticize Hindus are saying, oh, well, it's all this, deity worship and rituals which serve no purpose. But in fact, what would you say to that then? Because the truth is that all this has a scientific background. There's science involved in the worship as well. Have you got anything about that you can explain for the youth?
So I think it's inevitable in this time and age that we get a lot of questions like this, asking the reasoning behind why we do all these rituals and traditions. And I think behind every single ritual, every single tradition, there's profound and deep meanings. And I think sometimes it can easily get missed that we do things just following along with the guidelines rather than thinking, why are we actually doing this? So again, I think it's like a self-inquiry and an outer inquiry too, asking why are we doing these rituals? And I think behind every ritual, the underlying meaning is not always easy to understand, but I think through gurus and satgurus, that's how we understand and not forget these important rituals.
Yes, that's beautifully said about self-inquiry, because that's where it should start. All about looking within and figuring out where you stand and where you want to get to. So almost like a route map to from London to Aberdeen, and all the route you got to take and all the stops you got to make sure you're growing along the way. So yes, excellent. Thank you for that. And then one more question I have is, so tell us about your most powerful experience with Swamiji, Sharavanabhava. Is there anything you'd like to share? So
I've actually been blessed with a plethora of different experiences over the course of these last 10 years being with Satguru Sri Sharavanabhava. And I found each experience has helped me learn and grow in my spiritual journey. And it's taught me Babaji is omnipotent, he's omniscient, and he's omnibenevolent. So whether it be when you go for your individual darshan, he mentioned something that you spoke about home and you realize, oh, he is ever listening, he is ever there. It's these small things, and even just being in the presence of Babaji, I think that's an experience itself, being in the presence of a Purnavata, and the radiation that he emits is just pure bliss. And I think that itself is hard to comprehend and sometimes put into words. Some of these things you just have to experience, I feel. But I think the most powerful thing that all my experiences have taught me and that have accumulated to is that the faith and the hope and the self-confidence that I've gained by being in his presence and being through this journey with him.
So that sounds beautiful. That basically because of Swamiji's blessings, you've become more self-aware of yourself, and you are more mindful of everything you do in life, and that's why you're doing such amazing work already with all the seva work that you are doing with all your youth colleagues. So that is
thank you,
beautiful work. Thank you. I think that has been really helpful. And so then what that leaves me to say is, How can anybody wanting to contact the centre, how can they get in touch, and is there any details? Just leave us your website. I can put it on the BHF Facebook page anyway, you know, the radio Facebook page. But if there's anything immediate you'd want to say, is there anything about how people can connect with the centre?
Of course. So we welcome people from all walks of life. And our website is www.omsharanabhavamadam.org.uk. And we actively use our social media platforms too, whether it be Facebook to regularly live stream events and to share Babaji's teachings. And this has been particularly uplifting, I believe, for many, many people during these current unprecedented and difficult times, allowing us to forget our worries and our qualms due to the current pandemic for some time and to instead experience some happiness, bliss, and a peace of mind as we connect with the divine. So I will definitely pass over the social media contact details for you to put on the website and Facebook group. That would be great.
Thank you. So that was excellent, Vidhya. I truly enjoyed talking to you and learning about all the amazing work you've all been doing and about the profound messages and, you know, direction and guidance that we all get from Om Sharavanabhava. So my many deepest thanks for joining us today, and my deepest thanks to Sadhguru Sri Sharavanabhava as well for having this beautiful centre in London. Sadly, we haven't been able to access it as much, but it is there, and soon we should be able to go there, hopefully.
Yes, fingers crossed. Thank you so much for having me, and on behalf of the organisation, thank you for inviting us to talk about the organisation and our beloved Babaji. It's been a wonderful experience, and it'll be great to see many listeners come to the community centre when it all opens up. That will be absolutely lovely.
Yes, so I hope there will be, you know, listeners curious and willing to find out more about the centre and all the work that goes on there. Thank you, Vidhya. Wonderful to have you, and wish you the best of luck with everything you do as you go forward in life. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Om Sharavanabhava.